Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Both Russia and Ukraine are carrying forward their flurry of missile and drone attacks in each other's territories. An attack in Russia's Tula region even shut down 2 civilian airports for some time. With the fighting showing no signs of ending, Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky has made what he called a historic announcement which could have a bearing on the long-term prospects of the war as well. Take a look.
In an effort to boost its counteroffensive operations against Russia, Ukraine will now jointly manufacture weapons with the United States. Ukrainian President Zelensky, who dubbed this deal as an absolute fantasy, made the announcement just few days after the United States sanctioned a $325 million military aid to Ukraine.
We have a historical decision by the US to jointly produce weapons and defense systems, including air defense. This is something that was an absolute fantasy until recently, but it will become a reality. We will make it a reality.
Meanwhile, series of attacks continue from both the sides. Since Sunday, Ukraine's ministry has claimed to have shot down several missiles and drones launched by Russia overnight on Monday. The ministry further claimed that Russia has also attacked Ukraine with 2 anti-ship missiles, while Russia said they have destroyed Ukraine-launched drones over the northwestern part of Black Sea, over the Crimean Peninsula, Kursk and Belgorod. Moreover, attack in Russia's Tula region resulted in limited air traffic in 2 of Moscow's major airports. Earlier, at least 2 people were killed and 8 injured in another Russian attack that took place in southern Ukraine's Kherson region, whereas a missile attack left 1 injured in Odessa.
And let's take you across to Kyiv now. Joining us from there live is Megumi Lim, DD India's Megumi Lim. Good afternoon to you from Delhi. Megumi, now has the US said anything related to this big announcement by Zelensky that they'll manufacture all sorts of weapons, including air defense systems, along with Ukraine?
Zelensky announced last Friday, as he wrapped up his trip to Washington, that the United States and Ukraine will be jointly producing weapons in the future. He said that this long-term agreement could help Ukraine create new jobs and also create a new industrial base in Ukraine, which could help the Ukrainian economy, which has been badly damaged by after 19 months of war. We have not heard the U.S. come forward to comment on this, but Zelensky did say that the Ministry of Strategic Industries, which is a ministry that overlooks weapons productions in Ukraine, signed over 2,000 agreements with 2,000 U.S. defense companies during this trip. Now, although we have not heard from the U.S., there has been another major development in terms of weapons, where just a few days ago, U.S. President Joe Biden finally agreed to send Kyiv its ATACMs. These are long-range missiles with extremely powerful warheads that can strike targets of up to 300 kilometers away. Now, the United States has been very hesitant to send these weapons to Ukraine because, number one, it has its own limit of stockpiles for itself, but also because Washington feared that Russia would accuse the U.S. of escalating the war if Ukraine decides to send these missiles to Russian territory. But Ukraine has said that it will commit to not send these missiles to Russian territory. And so indeed, we have seen some major developments in terms of weapons production and also military aid to Ukraine in the past few days.
All right, and how is Russia likely to respond to this development, and what does it really indicate about the prospects of ending the war anytime soon?
Well, Russia will most certainly accuse Washington of escalating the war. It has been very sensitive about military aid being sent to Ukraine from the West, particularly by the United States. As we know, Russia used NATO expansion and Western expansion towards Ukraine and towards Russian borders and as a pretext to launch its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in the first place, what it calls a special military operation. So we will most likely be seeing Russia using this development to continue to justify the war and invasion of Ukraine. Now, we are not likely to see the end of the war anytime soon. We have seen, as you said, both sides ramping up its attack on each other. Ukraine has been stepping up its attacks on Russian military infrastructure in places like occupied Crimea, especially in the past few days and weeks. They are trying to cripple Russian military infrastructure as their counteroffensive continues, as they try to retake more territory. And for Russia, they're trying to defend these territories that they've already taken, but they're also ramping up attacks and continuing to attack port cities in Odessa, as we saw overnight and in the early hours of this morning. So both sides have really been ramping up at their attacks on each other and continuing to try to take more territory in Ukraine. So we're not likely to see the end of the war anytime soon.
Well, maybe the onset of winter will give an opportunity there, but one can just hope under these circumstances. Thanks a lot for joining us, Migu Mile.